Hello everybody and welcome back from the International GTOpen's summer break. We are here at the home of the British Grand Prix, the Silverstone circuit, as we head into the home straight of the season. 3 more events to go at 3 fantastic circuits, Silverstone, Monza and Barcelona. 6 races that will crown the 2017 International GTOpen champion. Well, it's hello from Ben Evans to an absolutely beautiful afternoon here at Silverstone. Ideal conditions to enjoy a very full field of cars for the International GTOpen, racing over the next 70 minutes or so. And in terms of the championship, well, it couldn't be closer because Giovanni Venturini and Thomas Biaggi lead the way on 60 points, but they tie with Miguel Ramos and Michael Mack in Spirit of Race Ferrari, also on 60 points. Victor Bouveng and Fran Rueda are just 2 points adrift in the Teo Martin Motorsport BMW. And then it's this car, Albert Costa and Philip Fromenvilla, 4th in the standings, 9 points off the lead of the championship. But most importantly of all, starting from pole position this afternoon here in Silverstone, the Lexus looking absolutely fantastic in qualifying this morning. Albert Costa just 2 flying laps during the qualifying session right at the start of the proceedings, and that was enough to give him pole position by 0.2 seconds over one of the 3 Imperiale Racing Lamborghinis, this of Marco Mappelli and Giovanni Venturini, because in a bid for the championship this weekend, Venturini and Biaggi have been split by the Imperiale team. Thomas Biaggi is joined by birthday boy Raffaele Giammaria, making a very welcome return to the championship. And Marco Mappelli, who we last saw in a Valour course Aston Martin 2012 in the International GTOpen, shares with Giovanni Venturini. Well, for Miguel Ramos and Michael Mack, qualifying didn't go quite to plan this morning in the Ferrari 488, and they line up in 15th place. It was much better, though, for Rob Bell, who we ride in car with now in the Balfe Motorsport McLaren. Bell pulling out all the stops to line up 2nd of the Pro-Am runners and 5th overall. It's a very, very busy weekend for the Balfe Motorsport team. The many, many employees from the Balfe family business here at Silverstone to enjoy the action. So there is the championship leader, Thomas Biaggi, who will start from 9th on the grid before handing over to Raffaele Giammaria. Biaggi, the reigning champion, of course, having raced the title alongside Fabrizio Crostani last year. Will he be able to make it back-to-back championship successes? Drivers heading to the grid. There is Marco Ciocci, one of the preeminent runners in the Pro-Am Championship battle, as Marcio Basso in the GTAM class in the sporty new Mercedes heads to the grid. For Marco Ciocci, it was a pretty fraught qualifying session en route to 10th on the grid. He had a huge spin at Beckett's late on in the session as the car slewed across the grass, fortunately without making contact with anything too solid. Gives an indication of just how hard the Italian was pushing. So the cars forming up on the grid. Rob Bell relaxed in the cockpit of the Balfe Motorsport McLaren. As the gull wing doors get opened, the car goes up onto its air jacks. Others being waved into place. Very, very competitive, sharp end of the grid for today. We've got Albert Costa and Marco Mappelli on the front row of the grid, then 3 British drivers from 3rd to 5th. Tom Onslow-Cole, pole position in the Pro-Am class in the SPS Automotive Mercedes, alongside Phil Keane, who makes a very welcome return to the championship in the Mercedes that he shares with Ryan Ratcliffe. And then Rob Bell, who lines up in 5th place, the 2nd of the Pro-Am qualifiers, alongside Mario Farnbacher in the Farnbacher Racing Lexus, and it's great to see that car back towards the front of the field as well. But qualifying is only half the story, because of course we have got a lot of the pro drivers who qualified in this morning's session at the front end of the group. We've got a lot of the AM drivers who qualified towards the second half of the grid, and they're going to have the pro driver taking over for the second half of the race, which will give it that added complexion. But for Albert Costa and Philip Fromenville, it was all so good at the start of the season, winning 2 of the opening 3 races, but thereafter not scored a victory. The Lexus a little bit off the pace in Paul Ricard and the Hungaroring. We're looking great this weekend. Second on the grid then for Marco Mapelli alongside Giovanni Venturini. What can all the Italian pairing do at the wheel of the Lamborghini? So Pro-Am pole for Tom Onslow-Cole alongside Valentin Pierberg, the SPS Automotive Mercedes. Onslow-Cole looking very relaxed at the wheel, really looking to push for class honours this afternoon. Phil Keane can always be relied upon to go very, very quickly. Whatever you put him in, he knows about the routine and rhythm of these international GTOpen races. For Rob Bell and Sean Bowth, it was a hard-earned 5th place in qualifying. But for Bell and Bowth, an eye towards the Pro-Am podium and Pro-Am points is surely what they're aiming for, particularly starting so far up the grid. Dominic Amaro Farnbacher again taking 2 victories in the opening events of the season, but really difficult weekends in Paul Ricard and Hungary. They've got a lot to do in terms of chasing their way into championship contention. Unlike the car in 7th place, Victor Bouveng and Fran Rueda, very evenly matched pairing at the wheel of the Teo Martin Motorsport BMW. Although success seconds are going to work against them in the pits, a solid points haul is going to keep this driver pairing in the championship fight all the way to the end of the season. The Wessex Vehicles Lamborghini of Craig Dolby returns this weekend, but this time around he is partnering Ricky Christodoulou. Very, very rapid driver pairing, and Dolby, of course, victorious in this event last year in that car. 9th on the grid for Thomas Biaggi, the wheel of the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini. He is going to be sharing with Raffaele Giammaria. Biaggi pushing hard in qualifying for a good grid slot. Marco Giocci, 3rd in the Pro-Am class, 10th overall. Car that he shares with Pier Giuseppe Perezzini. Always smiling Marco Giocci, but it's going to be a tough afternoon for him. He's going to be right in the middle of the field. What's going to be a fairly frantic opening to the race. Lining up in 11th place, a very warm welcome back to the championship after skipping Hungaroring for Francesco Cini and the Solaris Motorsport Aston Martin squad. And the car was looking really good in qualifying earlier on. Pace setters in free practice yesterday were Eduardo Liberati and Kang Ling, and the Raton Racing Lamborghini. And Liberati's pace continuing into qualifying earlier on as he lines up to the outside of row 6. This weekend, Lorenco Beiralda-Viega is partnered by Antonio Felix da Costa, returning to the Teo Martin Motorsport team for the first time since Estoril. So again, a very strong driver pairing in a car that should really come on strong later on in the race. A look at how they line up in full then, with this ultra-competitive front row of Albert Costa and Marco Mapelli. Then Onslow-Cole and Phil Keane, the 2 Mercedes should fly. McLaren and Lexus on row 3, Rob Bell and Mario Farnbacher. And then first the BMWs, Victor Bouveng alongside Craig Dolby, with the top 10 being completed by Thomas Biaggi and Marco Giocci, Italian drivers, Italian cars. Row 6, Francesco Cini and Eduardo Liberati from Lorenco Beiralda-Viega, and the 3rd of the Imperiale Lamborghinis, Andrea Fontana. Plenty to do from the inside of row 8 for Miguel Ramos, but watch for the Bentley of Jordan Witter, Michael Meadows. That could well feature later on. Miguel Sardinia heads the GTAM runners ahead of Hiroshi Hamaguchi, who passes over to Vitantonio Liuzzi later on. Alex West and Com Ledegar always in the hunt for a Pro-Am podium. Watch that car come through the field as the race unfolds. Alexander Fraquina and Martin Conrad likewise should well challenge for GTAM honours. Marcello Hahn had problems in qualifying, and that's why he shares the 12th row with Ivor Dunbar. A huge field of cars getting ready. The cars head off on the formation lap ahead of the 9th race of the international GTOpen season. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon in Silverstone, and this should be an awful lot of fun. It's a 70-minute race, as ever, this first race of the weekend, and there is the mandatory pit stop that comes between the 28th and 42nd minute of the race. So that gives us a 14-minute pit window where elements of strategy are going to come into play. And there's potentially, depending on where the cars are at the time the window opens, up to a 7-lap window for an under or over cut. All the drivers run on the Control Compound Michelin tyre, and managing the tyre allocation throughout the course of the weekend is going to be really key, both in determining the result of today's race and tomorrow's race, particularly as talking to the drivers in the pits earlier on this morning, eyes are really starting to be turned in the direction of the championship. It's incredibly competitive at the top of the championship, and therefore maximising the points haul from the weekend is paramount, even if that means maybe not actually fighting for the outright race victory. But lots of different strategies in play. And of course, there is the unpredictability of what's going to happen when you've got 24 supercars going racing. In car, the Balfe Motorsport McLaren with Rob Bell. So he just follows behind Phil Keane, heading past the Formula 1 pits on towards Abbey. And then swinging through the right-hander at Abbey, the left-hander at Farm, and that will then bring them back in to the complex of Village, the Loop and Aintree that feeds them down the Wellington Straight and back towards the end of the lap. So lots of cars to watch for as the race unfolds. Andrea Fontana and Vito Postiglione, the Imperiale Lamborghini, they have been consistent podium challengers throughout the course of the season. Jordan Witt, who will line up on the row behind. I was talking to Jordan a few moments ago. He's very confident about their chances to challenge, certainly for a Pro-Am podium in this race, if not a little bit better. The Bentley working really well in qualifying. Jordan just making a small mistake on his quickest lap, which maybe cost him the chance of a top 10 qualifying position. But it's a car that really relishes the high-speed straights of Silverstone. For Albert Costa and Philip Fromavila, this an opportunity for them to move to the top of the championship standings. It's never that simple, is it? All eyes on the monitors in the various pit boxes as Albert Costa paces the field, turning through Luffield, and then it's going to be looking to the gantry as the field form up, getting ready for the rolling start for the 9th time in 2017. We're about to go racing in the International GTOpen. Who's going to get the jump? Phil Keane looking to try and anticipate. So is Tom Onslow-Cole, waiting for those red lights to change, which they do now, and away we go. And the field fan out. It's 3 or 4 wide. Further back as they sprint towards Copse Corner for the first time. Costa leads. Then it is Mapelli. Onslow-Cole in 3rd. Everybody else fighting for 4th. They're all cleanly through. Eduardo Liberati pushed out wide, but it's Mario Farnbacher who's lost out. He's been shuffled some way down into the midfield as Costa sighs through. Running out very wide is Victor Bouveng, who rejoins just in the path of Rob Bell. Evades Phil Keane. Marco Ciocci right up with Francesco Cini as they come out of Chapel Curve, down the hanger straight for the first time. Costa leads from Mapelli, then it's Onslow-Cole, Keane, Bouveng, Bell. Then Thomas Biaggi, Craig Dolby, Marco Ciocci, Francesco Cini, Mario Farnbacher, Andrea Fontana, and then the rest of them. Mapelli, though, keeping Costa very honest in the early running. Mario Farnbacher looks to try and challenge to the inside of Francesco Cini. They all get on the brakes into Vale. Very tight section of the circuit. Liberati bounces over the curbs, forces Miguel Ramos to take some slight evasive action. But they're all running cleanly, at least through these opening few exchanges. As headlights blaze, Costa and Mapelli beginning to open up some daylight over Onslow-Cole, Keane and Bouveng. On the brakes into Village. As behind, Mario Farnbacher looks to apply the pressure to Francesco Cini. 007 liveried Aston Martin, though, retains the advantage as the Renko Bear to Viega. A little bit tight coming out of the loop. That might open the door at least a little bit for Jordan Witt to try and challenge. Race leaders, though, already into Luffield towards the end of the first lap. It's the Lexus, Lamborghini, then the brace of Mercedes, BMW and McLaren. Craig Dolby, he's got his work cut out. He's got tucked up right behind him Marco Ciocci. Two hard racers here, disputing 8th and 9th position. As they swing into Copse Corner, accelerate on towards Maggots and Beckett's. We've got Farnbacher hard at work in the Farnbacher Racing Lexus, trying to elevate his way up past Francesco Cini. Two of them running absolutely nose to tail through Beckett's. Brave stuff from both of them. Mario Farnbacher might lose out here to straight line speed the Aston Martin. Now here is Hiroshi Hamaguchi and Marcello Hahn. Spin though for Alex Moiseev, and that unfortunately puts the Kaspersky Ferrari towards the bottom of the field. So leading duo, some 2.8 seconds clear of Onslow Cole, who's got Keane tucked up right behind him. Now this is going to be fun because Tom Onslow Cole and Phil Keane are hardly shrinking violets when they get behind the wheel, and are going to be quite happy to race wheel to wheel. Can't think that Victor Bouveng's going to turn down that opportunity either. And then there's a slight gap back to Rob Bell. Then this group behind Thomas Biaggi, Craig Dolby and Marco Ciocci, as Onslow Cole just covers the inside line into Village. Nothing doing there for Phil Keane. Keane closes up onto Onslow Cole again as Dolby has to defend from Ciocci. Ciocci is a master of finding traction where really there should be none, and the Ferrari looks to the outside, then the inside as they accelerate through Aintree onto the Wellington Straight. You don't know where to look, do you? Because still Keane applies the pressure to Onslow Cole, who is proving that the Mercedes can be exactly the width of the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit as he kicks the tail of the car out. Keane looks to ask all the right questions. Dolby likewise doing the same with Ciocci behind him. Mario Farnbacher still thwarted by Francesco Cini. So the leading duo through, half a second between Costa and Mapelli, then 5 seconds back to Onslow Cole. And then we've got Keane and Bouveng right in the middle of that battle. It's really only Rob Bell, that leading gaggle, who's got anything like a little bit of breathing space, but even he can't help it as he closes up on to the tail of the cars in front. Down the hanger straight, lights the blaze for Albert Costa. Marco Mapelli looking to stay with him. You can see this quartet fighting for third. Also, crucially, with an eye towards the Pro-Am Championship, you've got Onslow Cole and Rob Bell, both well positioned in that particular title fight. Trying to split the field early on. Through Vale and out of club. And here is Hiroshi Hamaguchi pushing very hard again in the Triple F Racing Lamborghini. A car worth watching later on in the race as Vincent gets behind the wheel. Meanwhile, Ivor Dunbar, Alex Moiseev going elbow to elbow in their Ferraris. Moiseev able to pick his way past Dunbar. So frantic opening 5 minutes. Race now just beginning to settle down as Phil Keane runs a little bit wide coming out of the loop. Might just half open the door to Victor Bouveng. Marco Mapelli looking, if he can, to stay with Albert Costa. Bouveng trying to close up to Keane. Keane caught a little bit in the turbulent air behind Onslow Cole. Rob Bell just sitting there watching and waiting. Is giving Thomas Biaggi the opportunity just to try and close up to that group as well. So the field thunder out of Woodcote. Sprint towards Copse Corner, in car with Rob Bell. You can see the busy road ahead of him as he drives into the sunlight, turns through Copse. Really satisfying corner if you get it right, Copse. And then the climb on towards Maggots and Beckett's. Phil Keane, he's caught between attacking and defending. Rob Bell's got the luxury of just watching it unfolding. Now here is Lorenzo Barral de Viega, providing a little bit of unwanted assistance to Andrea Fontana through Luffield. Some trim that came loose from the BMW. There you see it. The black hole where there was once some blue spoiler. Still Mario Farnbacher, who was of the front runners, the driver, really didn't get away quite as well. Lost a lot of ground, and now he's pursuing Francesco Cini, who's on to terms with Marco Ciocci, who remains with Craig Dolby. And Dolby, you can guarantee, is not going anywhere. Well, he's got it in stereo at the moment, Dolby, because he's got Ferrari one side, Aston Martin another, and Lexus lurking, ready to take advantage. Thomas Biaggi, the championship leader. 7th position, Raffaele Giammaria. Vito Postiglione share a smile in the Imperiale garage. As Victor Bouveng tries to light the move on Phil Keane down the Wellington Straight into Brooklands, but the BMW not quite close enough to the Mercedes on this occasion, so the gap remains much as it was. But as they elevate the pace slightly, it's just knocking Rob Bell a little bit adrift of this group. But for Bell, one of the key gaps is to Marco Ciocci, towards the Pram Battelle DeLorean. Meanwhile, here is Edoardo Liberati alongside Jordan Witt. And Liberati punches his way past Witt, although what Liberati might not find as witty is that he's under investigation for the start. So now Jordan Witt comes under a little bit of threat from Miguel Ramos as they fight over 15th and 16th. Here is Mario Farnbacher. Now, where is Francesco Cini? The answer is that Cini is behind him. So, off camera, Mario Farnbacher making the move on Francesco Cini. That's place gained for the Lexus. Here we see it into Luffield. And elbows out. Now, a lot of trim coming off the Lexus then. I wonder if that is going to have a detrimental effect to Mario Farnbacher's handling. The Aston Martin was tipped sideways, not entirely convinced that Francesco Cini knew that the Lexus was there as he turned in to take the second apex. So Albert Costa leads, Marco Mapelli is second. We're watching the fight for third. Onslow Cole from Phil Keane, the Bracelet Mercedes. Then we've got Victor Bouveng in 5th, Rob Bell 6th, Thomas Biaggi 7th, Craig Dolby 8th, Marco Ciocci in 9th, Mario Farnbacher in 10th. We're just 10 minutes into the race. Still a lot of racing to go, 18 minutes until the pit window opens. So every opportunity for them to sort this out on track between themselves. But what is very ominous for the rest of the field is that already Albert Costa's lead over Tom Onslow Cole in 3rd place is some 10 seconds. With Costa and Mapelli consistently lapping in the sub 2-minute second bracket, everybody else is lapping in the 2-minute 1 second bracket. Very rapid Antonio Felix da Costa watches on from the Teo Marti Motorsport pit wall. Lorenzo Barral de Viega, whose car he'll take over, currently running in 12th position. For what these pro drivers taking over the second half of the race want to see, really, is the field not being spread maybe quite as much as it is. Barral de Viega currently 21 seconds off the lead of the race. Now Ciocci is up ahead of Craig Dolby. It's a move that was a long time in coming. The question is then whether or not Farnbacher can get past Dolby. You can see the damage that Mario Farnbacher has done to the front spoiler. And that is potentially going to lead to a little bit of understeer for the Lexus. And it just means the car's not going to be working aerodynamically quite as the designers originally intended. Good all Lamborghini scrap just behind Andrea Fontana, ahead of Edoardo Liberati. Liberati having a really good weekend at the wheel of the Raton Racing Lamborghini, but not quite as good as that of Albert Costa, the wheel of the Emil Frey Racing Lexus. But Marco Mapelli staying with him, keeping him honest. And the pair of them pushing themselves at the front of the field. And Costa's performance in qualifying first thing this morning was so impressive. Went out, did 2 flying laps, parked the car 8 minutes into the session, didn't venture out onto track again, didn't need to. As Bouveng pushes hard to try and stay with the brace of Mercedes ahead of him. Apparently doing likewise at the wheel of the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini. Rob Bell just starting to come onto terms with the BMW, because one of the real challenges of the BMW is it's a car that has got such huge potential, but if you push it a little bit too hard with it early on in the race, it can sometimes get through the best of the tyres a little bit sooner than some of the others. Shades on for Sean Balfe, watching the progress of his car from the Balfe Motorsport Garage. It's on to the hangar straight for Costa and Mapelli. You can see the gaps just easing out to almost a second between Costa and Mapelli. Costa's got the very rapid Philip Fromavila to take over from Marco Mapelli to Giovanni Venturini. So the race is far from settled in either direction, although the advantage that this pair are now building up over the rest of the field is going to make it quite difficult for anybody a little bit lower down the order to really push through. In terms of the GTAM class, it's Miguel Sardina who currently leads that from Alexander Fraquina and Marcio Basso, and the Pro-Am class headed by Tom Onslow Cole from Rob Bell and Marco Ciocci. So nearly 15 minutes in, field much as it qualified, with the exception of Mario Farnbacher down in 10th, and the chance to admire the Lexus in full flow. Just looking at Albert Costa at the wheel of the car and Marco Mapelli, both of them appear to be so relaxed in the cockpit. They're of course working extremely hard to extract the maximum performance from the cars. But this is always the balance, is just letting the car do the hard work. Well, after that initial flurry of pressure, Tom Onslow Cole's been able to withstand the efforts of Phil Keane so far. But Phil was saying in the British media this week that for he and Ryan Ratcliffe, as new entrants to the championship this weekend, they carry 15 seconds of additional pit stop time in this first race. But that therefore, for them, it's all about setting the car up for a really good result tomorrow and potentially pushing on for a race victory. Certainly they've got front-running pace, as has been the case for the Mercedes for much of the season. Thomas Jaeger, particularly quick with letting the race the Mercedes at the Hungaroring, and then Paul Ricard. Tom Onslow Cole likewise has put together a few sterling performances with the SPS Automotive Mercedes. As Phil King gets on the brakes, turns into Stowe Corner out at the furthest extremity of the circuit. Runs downhill out of Stowe, then slight climb up out of the Vale. On the brakes into the left-hander, then around the right-hander at Club as Andrea Fontana comes under more pressure from Edoardo Liberati. The two Lamborghinis been running nose to tail for the last few laps, and again Liberati elevates the pace, looks to try and pressurise Fontana. They're busy fighting over 13th. They've got Jordan Witt, Miguel Ramos trying to snap at their heels. Now, a driver we've not spoken about at all is Miguel Ramos in pursuit of Jordan Witt, but Ramos currently in 16th position. Here Mika Mack joint leads in the championship coming into today's race. A lot of work for them to do after two absolutely fantastic weekends in France and Hungary, as they really get to grips with the Ferrari 488. So again, Liberati looks to close up onto the tail of Andrea Fontana, sprinting down the Wellington Straight. Fontana tries to get on the brakes, in car with Rob Bell. Bell hard at work. Can see still Victor Bouveng just ahead of him. Liberati may well be about to be in receipt of some bad news because his team manager has been summoned to race control with immediate effect. So this battle with Andrea Fontana, as enjoyable as it may be, could possibly be all for nothing. Now, a good scrap forming up as Francesco Cini coming under real pressure from Lourenco Beirao de Viega. Cini, pleased to see, suffering no ill effects in the Aston Martin after the assistance that he received from Mario Farnbacher. Farnbacher, though, unable to do much about Craig Dolby ahead of him. So they run as a close competitive pair towards Stowe. The same still for Fontana and Liberati. Then that slight gap back to Jordan Witt, just 1.6 seconds, with Miguel Ramos a second adrift of the Bentley as well. Miguel Ramos has got very, very rapid Michael Mack will take over from him in mid-race. Likewise, Jordan Witt has got Michael Meadows waiting in the wings as the Bentley runs a little bit wide through the Vale. Witt, though, picks up the pace, clips the apex at club, runs a little bit wide again, out over the AstroTurf. Short sprint along towards Abbey. On the brakes into Village. Fontana covers the inside line a little bit more tightly than was perhaps necessary, and it gives Edoardo Liberati half a glimmer to think about challenging as they turn through the loop, accelerating on towards Aintree. Andrea Fontana, he's had 2 podium finishes this year in Paul Ricard and the Hungaro Ring. For Edoardo Liberati, season's best result of 7th place, coming in Paul Ricard. Right on Racing Lamborghini, nothing else, absolutely immaculate in its preparation. A wonderfully striking gold livery. And all the while at the front of the field, Albert Costa, there he is, and Marco Mappelli, they're now 15 seconds clear of the rest of the pack. But then, to put that into perspective, a 15-second gap covers 3rd through to 13th. So it's still very, very close for the Pro-Am podium honours and for 3rd place in the race overall, if not a little bit more. And the other consideration here, of course, is that Marco Mappelli and Giovanni Venturini, as the nominated new entry from the Imperiale Racing team this weekend, they have got a 15-second pit handicap as well to contend with. So that means essentially, if they were to pit in now, Venturini would be fed out pretty much on a par with the cars currently fighting over 3rd place. So it's going to be a really fascinating second phase of the race. So at the moment, the pro drivers at the front of the field pushing as hard as they can to begin to gap and stretch the field. For Victor Bouveng, Fran Rueda, because they won last night in Hungary, they've also got 15 seconds additional time to spend in the pit. So that's going to lead for a little bit of work for Rueda to do later on in the race. This, an impressive performance from Victor Bouveng, because at the Hungaro Ring, when he inherited the car from Fran Rueda, it was really in a context where he just needed to drive at a good but not scintillating pace to bring it through to victory. He did exactly that, but now, boot on the other foot, he's really having to try and buy as much time as he possibly can to give Rueda the best possible opportunity of scoring a good points finish. It's already 20 minutes into the 9th race of the International GTOpen season here at Silverstone on the Grand Prix circuit in the September sunshine. The pit window opens in 8 minutes or so, 7 minutes time, and that is where the race will start to get turned onto its head. Expect to see most of these front running cars staying out pretty deep and long into the pit window, but we will see others a little bit lower down the field, like Lourenco Beirao de Viega, like Jordan Witt, like Miguel Ramos, like Alexander West, coming in quite early. They've got very, very quick co-pilots who will be taking over the car for the second half of the race and looking to propel them up through the order. It's again a Everybody being fairly optimistic with the amount of curb they can take coming out of club. Onslow Cole uses every inch of road into Abbey, then Farm. And a large Onslow Cole fan base here at Silverstone today to cheer him on. And rewarding them with a very solid performance. Moving, still just trying to keep Phil Keane honest. And Rob Bell staying with them, but now Thomas Biaggi in 7th, just beginning to get onto terms with Bell. That's a gap that's come down a little bit over the last few laps. It's down to just 1.2 seconds. It had previously been about 2 seconds. Nonetheless, Bell 2nd in the Pro-Am class. It's going to give Sean Balfe a good opportunity when he takes over. Doing battle with Valentin Pierberg, who'll take over from Tom Onslow Cole. The slick pit stop here could make all the difference. As Bell picks up the throttle coming out of Copse Corner. Very experienced racer in international GTs and sports cars. Rob Bell, one of the very, very best in the business. It's just been one outright race podium, though, for the Balfe Motorsport McLaren so far this year. That came in the very first race of the year in Estoril, where they took 2nd place and the Pro-Am class victory. That outright race podium may be an answer this afternoon as well. It all depends on how the pit stops go, if anybody else hits trouble, whether or not we get a safety car which would bunch the field up, all of which can change the complexion of the race. Jordan Witt in the Jordan Racing Bentley still going solidly in 15th place, trying to chase down Fontana and Liberati, who remain squabbling at the wheel of their Lamborghinis. It's been really enjoyable between the pair of them. Eduardo Liberati trying every which way to try and pick his way past Andrea Fontana, but Fontana driving a very wide car as well, making it a pretty tough task. Swinging through Abbey on towards Farm. And it's possibly on the brakes into Village where we've seen Andrea Fontana just doing things a little bit differently to Eduardo Liberati. Doesn't happen on that occasion. Thraton Racing Lamborghini blocked out midway through the loop by Fontana. Means that Liberati can't get on the pedal any earlier than Fontana does. As a result, he can't draw alongside along the Wellington Straight, so nothing doing there. As Michael Meadows readies himself in the Jordan Racing pit to take over from Jordan Witt. The pit window opening in 3.5 minutes. It'll be open from 42 minutes remaining in the race to 28 minutes remaining in the race. So all the gaps will start to unfold a little bit as through Copse and Liberati, every which way he looks, Andrea Fontana has got an answer for him. At the same time, Fontana isn't delaying either of them enough to bring Jordan Witt into the fight. It's been a really nice defensive drive, this, from Andrea Fontana. Whether or not he can sustain the pressure all the way towards the back end of the pit window, we will see. As he comes out to Chapel Curve, down the Hanger Straight, still Jordan Witt and Miguel Ramos in close attention. Liberati, who was a star in the GT Asia Championship last year, as now Thomas Biaggi right up with Rob Bell, two of the very best in the business. And they're also getting in amongst a little bit of the traffic. That's Marco Ciocci to the inside of Ivor Dunbar in the FF Course Ferrari. Ivor, though, who is learning an awful lot this year, alongside the vastly experienced Johnny Molam, with whom he shares the car. Johnny doing a really excellent job of imparting his vast knowledge to Ivor as the season's unfolding. Now, here is Marcello Hahn and Alex West. Hahn to the inside of West. Change of places for 17th and 18th as a result. Around Luffield, Rob Bell accelerates. He has got locked behind him Thomas Biaggi. On that last lap, Biaggi closes the gap down by another 1/10 of a second. Rob just seems to be able to, again, have enough of an answer whenever Biaggi comes calling. And just wonder at what point Thomas Biaggi might duck into the pits to hand over to Raffaele Giammaria. Giammaria, one of the most successful drivers in the history of the International GTOpen Championship. Never been an outright champion, but a multiple race winner. And here is the race leader, Albert Costa, still with Marco Mappelli right in his wheel tracks. They have been separated by 9/10 of a second for the best part of 10 laps now. And Mappelli trying to close up to the Lexus of Albert Costa. But this, in the way that Spa did earlier in the season, is a circuit that seems to perfectly suit the characteristics of the Lexus. It's a car that works very well on the track with lengthy straights attached to mid-speed corners. As Albert Costa tries to take a big bite of curb, Mappelli follows in his wheel tracks as they are going to continue on their way. The pit window is open now, effectively. So although the leading duo can't take advantage of the pits being open, everybody else in the race can. We can expect to see, I think, quite a few cars coming in pretty much with immediate effect. And certainly for the likes of Lorenzo Barral de Viega in 12th place, there's every opportunity that that car may well come through and challenge for the podium a little bit later on in the hands of Antonio Fitzcosta, but Victor Bouveng comes in early for Teo Martin Motorsport to pass over to Victor Bouveng. They've got an additional 15 seconds in the pits. The minimum pit time is 70 seconds. Because they won last time out, it's 85 seconds for the pairing. So although the pit stop will happen at pace, they don't need to rush. Also in is Andrea Fontana, Tando to Vito Postiglione and Miguel Ramos to pass on to Mikel Mack. So all go in the pits. The Imperiale Racing team get to work. So do the Spirit of Race Ferrari squad. Well drilled as ever through the pit stops. Also in is Hiroshi Hamaguchi. That is to pass over to Vitantonio Liuzzi, and Com Ledegar will take over from Alex West. Alain Coder from Marcello Hahn. That could be interesting. Alain Coder, very impressive when we've seen him so far this season. Meanwhile, Marco Mappelli is beginning to wind up the pressure on Albert Costa and is a little bit closer. In fact, he's halved Costa's advantage. It's down to just 4/10 of a second as the pair of them wind around Luffield, coming to the end of their 15th lap. Still not quite at half-race distance, but now the battle for the lead is as close as it's ever been, and part of the reason for that is that Costa's pace has dropped a little bit. It's into the high 2-minute second bracket. Still about a second quicker than everybody else in the field. But Mappelli's staying with him, and they're going to get in amongst a little bit of the traffic. Of those that have pitted, Fran Rueda is the first to emerge, then Vito Postiglione. So the field starting to get a little bit jumbled up. So also in is Thomas Biaggi to Raffaele Giammaria. Biaggi out, Giammaria in. The Imperiale Racing team very well drilled through the pit stops, as they need to be this weekend, with 3 front-running cars. Also will change over at Wessex Vehicles. In gets Ricky Christodoulou, out gets Craig Dolby. And now, Antonio Fitzcosta takes over from the Renko Barrio de Viega. Very popular Portuguese Antonio Fitzcosta. Michael Meadows also exchanges positions with Jordan Witt. Bentley comes down off its air jacks, about to resume action, as meanwhile Mikael Mack has joined the fray right in front of Tom Onslow-Cole, with Alam Kader just behind him. And Onslow-Cole caught in a slightly difficult position here, because he really wants to try and take advantage of the lighter fuel load. At the same time, Mikael Mack may well have new tyres, as Albert Costa, the Lexus, beginning to move around underneath him a little bit. Is he going to duck towards the pits on this occasion? No, he's not. Mapelli stays with him as they both pound in to another lap. Through Copse Corner, and this is really impressive from Marco Mapelli, not least because he's in amongst some of the turbulent air that's given off from the car in front. Albert Costa is not providing any sort of negative impact for him whatsoever. Through Beckett's, riding the curb, then out through the left-hand of Chapel Curve, down the hanger straight towards Stowe. So we've had about half the field pit in. And of those that have pitted, not unsurprisingly, it's Raffaele Gianmaria who has emerged to the fore of that queue. Head of Fran Rueda, Antonio Fitz-Costa and Michael Meadows. This is wonderful to watch Marco Mapelli at work. He really is hustling the Lamborghini, making life difficult now for Albert Costa. And this is GT3 racing at its very best. Different marks going wheel to wheel through the high-speed sweeps. This might just advantage the Lexus a little bit, but look at the ground the Lamborghini makes up under braking onto the tail of Albert Costa. Is there half a gap to the inside of the loop? Of course there isn't. Costa tries to block out the Lamborghini. Can now get the power down in the Lexus. Mapelli stays with him. Marco Mapelli gets into the tow behind Albert Costa down the Wellington straight. Just a quarter of a second between the pair of them as they look on the brakes into Brooklands. A slight jink to the inside from Marco Mapelli. A feint to cover it from Albert Costa. Costa then moves across, hugs the inside line through Luffield. Mapelli stays right with him. Are they going to go pitswards on this occasion? No, they're not. Into the 18th lap of the race then for the race leaders. And this is brilliant stuff now, as Marco Mapelli is asking questions at pretty much each and every turn, trying to force that mistake from Costa. Costa, a former Renault 2-litre Euro Cup champion, former Renault Megane Euro Cup champion. As is the case with so many drivers, finances, an opportunity not going his way at critical points in the single-seater career, but now reinventing himself as a top-level GT racer as he flashes his headlights at Fran Rueda. Rueda, though, he's not going to exactly want to jump out the way here. Allow the Lexus through, because this is a car that he's battling with for the championship, and any chance to back Albert Costa up into Marco Mapelli is probably not one to be sniffed at. So this might give Mapelli an opportunity, particularly as Rueda runs a little bit wide into Vale, and that frustrates Costa a little bit as they come out of club. And this is really tight now for Albert Costa. He needs to try and clear Fran Rueda, continues to flash his headlights, and now darts through into Abbey, and Costa had to get his elbows out to make that move stick, and crucially Mapelli's not been able to follow through the gap, but he does now. So track position advantage back to Costa and Mapelli, but Costa probably getting slightly the better of that relative to Marco Mapelli. So the gap between the pair of them actually at the end of the sector goes out once more to 9/10 of a second. So it's still Costa from Mapelli, Onslow-Cole, Phil Keane, Rob Bell, Marco Giocci in 6th, Mario Farnbacher 7th, Francesco Cini 8th, Eduardo Liberati 9th, and Raffaele Gianmaria, the first of the pitters, in 10th. As into the pits now from second place comes Marco Mapelli. Giovanni Venturini waiting for him. Venturini, and when he was alongside Thomas Biaggi, celebrating his first victory of the season in race 1 at the Hungaroring. But the lesson that Thomas Biaggi learnt last year was that it's sometimes consistency is what you need to go to the International GT Open Championship. So Venturini takes over from Mapelli. Costa continues to lead the way. Now, for the first time, he's not got his mirrors full. Rival cars. Frommenwieler readies himself in the Emil Frey Racing garage area. 5 minutes left in the pit window. Also in is Mario Farnbacker's pass over to Dominic Farnbacker. That's why the Liberati has also ducked in to pass over to Kang Ling. So the pit's all busy as Giovanni Venturini rolls down the pit lane. Albert Costa about to close off his 19th lap of the race. Don't think we'll be seeing Costa coming in on this lap, so he's probably going to do one more lap in the stint. The other Lexus gets refueled. There's the damage from the earlier contact with Francesco Cini. Albert Costa getting towards the end of the life of those Michelin tyres, really pushing hard. He's got time. I think really just for one more lap it would be a bit marginal, otherwise getting in before the pit window closed. Of those that have pitted, it would appear that it's Giovanni Venturini who is the 4 of that queue, from Dominic Farnbacker, then Kang Ling, then Raffaele Giammaria, Fran Rueda and Antonio Felix da Costa. So lots of gaps throughout the field that are going to start to close themselves down as the order stabilises. In fact, Giammaria up the road ahead of Dominic Farnbacker. It's into the pit lane now as we follow the race leader is Rob Bell. That's to pass over to Sean Balfe from 2nd in the Pro-Am class. So Bell doing a great job. Now what can Sean do about bringing that car home for a Pro-Am podium? Balfe Motorsport Mechanics gets work there. You see all of the Balfe Construction Company's staff watching on all of Sean's guests. This one's Francesco Cini. Mauro Calamia will take over in the Solaris Aston Martin. So it's just Albert Costa, Tom Onslow-Cole, Phil Keane and Marco Ciocci who are yet to make their pit stops. And that's all going to happen at the end of this lap. So a nice smooth pit stop is what Albert Costa will be hoping for as he chases Dominic Farnbacker down the Wellington Straight. Headlights ablaze on both of the Lexus entries. Very, very impressive debut in European GT racing for the Lexus this season. Sweeping the field in the first 4 races of the GT Open season. And they haven't had a win since Spa at the end of May. Down to pit lane speed limit for Albert Costa. All systems go now for the Emil Frey team. Frommenwieler waiting to take over. No pit handicap either for them. So a smooth pit stop here. And we'd expect to see this car emerging in a fairly comfortable lead. Which is exactly what Philip will want really for managing the pace of the car, bring it home for a 3rd victory of the season. Onslow-Cole and Phil Keane both in. Valentin Pierberg will take over from Tom Onslow-Cole in the SPS Automotive Mercedes, with Ryan Ratcliffe assuming control from Phil Keane. Fresh set of boots as Keane straps in Ryan Ratcliffe. So So here is Giovanni Venturini. Venturini essentially racing cars that are currently static in the pit lane. And this is going to be quite nice by the way it all works out, I think, Venturini, because here comes Philip Fromvilla out of the pits. So the pit handicap, of course, giving Fromvilla the advantage. But I think crucially here for Giovanni Venturini, he's still going to be able to maintain second position in the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini. And then the question is what his pace is relative to that of Fromvilla's. The gap between the pair of them, we will find out as they come towards the end of the sector. It's going to be a fairly substantial one. The length of a hanger straight. That's what it's going to be. So Fromvilla leads. Second place is Giovanni Venturini, 12.4 seconds back for Venturini. Question is whether or not, with 27.5 minutes left in the race, Venturini is going to be best part of a second a lap quicker than Fromvilla. Third place then, I think the Pro-Am class, is Valentin Pierberg. Fourth is Raffaele Gianmaria. Fifth is Sean Balfe. We're in car with Sean now. Sean second in the Pro-Am class, fifth overall. As he sets off in pursuit of Gianmaria. We go back trackside with Philip Fromvilla. Fromvilla through that second sector was a 54.0. So 52.6 for Giovanni Venturini. Now, of course, Venturini has already done a lap or so getting heat into the Michelin tyre. So the gap that he might bring down over the course of this lap as Philip Fromvilla warms the tyres is not necessarily going to be indicative of how the remainder of the race is going to unfold. So across the line goes the Lexus. 31.9 through the final sector. Waiting for Venturini, who does 31.6, so brings the gap down to under 11 seconds. So our classification then, post pit stops, is Fromvilla leads. Second place, Giovanni Venturini. Third and Pro-Am lead for Valentin Pierberg. Fourth is Raffaele Gianmaria. Fifth is Sean Balfe. This is the fight for 6th and 7th between Pier Giuseppe Perezzini and Ryan Ratcliffe. In 8th place is Dominic Farnbacher, 9th Fran Rueda, and 10th Mauro Calamia. There are some really good battles going on throughout the field because Calamia has got Antonio Fitzcosta and Michael Meadows right with him as well. Now this is important here for Pier Giuseppe Perezzini because of the Pro-Am Championship fight with Sean Balfe. Sean is 8.9 seconds up the road and currently second in the class to Valentin Pierberg. And Sean's deficit to Valentin Pierberg is some 6 seconds or so as well. So there's lots of different strands to keep an eye on here as we head into the latter stage of the race. Ryan Ratcliffe all over Pier Giuseppe Perezzini, but we saw at the Hungaroring that Perezzini is not an easy driver to pass, particularly not when there's a very good result on the table. So Perezzini at the moment able to keep the Mercedes behind him. It's allowing Dominic Farnbacher to join in the scrap as well. As out of club, accelerating on towards Albion Farm. This is the fight, three-way fight for 6th position. But we could be in for an absolutely fascinating end to this race because as we watch this wheel-to-wheel dicing on track, and more wheel-to-wheel dicing, Antonio Fitzcosta has found his way past Mauro Calamia. It's now the turn of Michael Meadows to try and do the same. The two British marks, the Aston Martin and the Bentley, going wheel-to-wheel. Calamia knows the Silverstone circuit a little bit from his time in the FIA Formula 2 Championship. Also, a great deal of success in the Maserati Super Trofeo. Fighting for 11th and 12th position. Well, there's some fascinating battles to bring up speed with. So first of all, at the front of the field, Giovanni Venturini on that last lap was a second quicker than the race leader Philip Fromvilla. So the gap now from first to second is at 10 seconds. Valentin Pierberg in the SPS Automotive Mercedes really struggling for pace in the early stages of his stint. He's now got Raffaele Gianmaria breathing down his neck, and Sean Balfe also closing very quickly in. Here it is then, that's fight for third. In the background, where's Sean? There he is. So the fight for the Pro-Am class honours could come alive. The fight for third in the race overall is definitely going to crackle into life. And that is going to have a fascinating twist on the championship, because the championship leaders coming today, Venturini and Biaggi, in different cars. And if things stay as they are, Giovanni Venturini is going to move ahead of Thomas Biaggi in the championship, but Raffaele Gianmaria may well be able to scoop up the points for third position, which would mean Biaggi only gives away 2 points to Venturini. Valentin Pierberg, he went really well at Paul Ricard, also looked good at the Hungaroring. That last lap wasn't a particularly good one. How has this lap unfolded so far? Through the first sector, gave away a lot to Raffaele Gianmaria, and Gianmaria is going to go through here as Valentin Pierberg runs wide through the loop, and Gianmaria up into third position. 24 seconds adrift to Giovanni Venturini, so it's an argument that's about as far as Gianmaria is going to get. He'll certainly be able to make that third place very comfortable indeed. It's then a case of, well, what could happen for the Pro-Am class victory? Because Valentin Pierberg and Sean Balfe, they're both fighting for the Pro-Am championship. And there's Sean in the background. The gap from Pierberg to Balfe at the end of the last sector was 3.8 seconds. Here's another look at it. Pierberg turns in. Mercedes just understeers on him. Raffaele Gianmaria says thank you very much. Valentin Pierberg probably doesn't wish him a belated happy birthday as the Italian sprints past. You wouldn't want to play Thomas Biaggi at poker, would you? As still, Pier Giuseppe Perezzini keeping Ryan Ratcliffe behind him. Mario Farnbacher there watching. They're being caught as well by Fran Rueda. We've got a couple of managers summoned to race control. Cars 12 and 10, that's Michael Meadows and Nodo Figueiredo. So Michael Meadows in the Jordan Racing Bentley. Affecting that. In terms of the GTOpen class, that's also a battle that's going to go all the way to the wire, with Martin Conrad second in the class, chasing down Manuel da Costa. Oh, a big look up there from Ryan Ratcliffe, possibly caught out by the way that Ferrari got on the anchors. It means that Dominic Farnbacher's got the opportunity to challenge now in the Lexus. It's the fight for 6th, 7th and 8th. They're being joined by Fran Rueda. Lexus looks the inside of the Mercedes. They've got also in the background, you saw Antonio Felix da Costa trying to join in as well. The front of the field, the gap between Fromavila and Venturini has stabilised. Dominic Farnbacher looks every which way to try and fight his way, if he can, past the Mercedes. Ryan Ratcliffe, it gives Pier Giuseppe Perezzini just a little bit of breathing room, which the Italian will be very grateful for. Third in the Pro-Am class. Meanwhile, the fight for the Pro-Am class lead, there's only now 1.7 seconds between Sean Balfe and Valentin Pierberg, so that battle is shortly to crackle into life, one would expect. There's still 20 minutes to run. Phil Keane and Rob Bell confer. Dominic Farnbacher tries to do something about the Mercedes, but the Mercedes is a car with a straight line punch. It's making it a little bit harder for the Lexus to pick its way past. And this is the beautiful thing about multi-mark GT racing, is that all these cars are stronger on different sections of the circuit. It does open up overtaking opportunities, but also can be very frustrating, particularly if you're much quicker than your rivals in a section of track where you really struggle to find your way past your rival. So through Stowe Corner. Here is a look, meanwhile, at Ricky Christodoulou to the inside of Kang Ling for 13th place. Gallardo past the Huracan. Now here's the battle for Pro-Am honours, 4th in the race overall. Sean Balfe chasing Valentin Peerberg. And so I think a disappointing stint for Peerberg. Uncharacteristically, he's just been grappling with this middle sector on the circuit, and it means that he gave away more time again to Sean Balfe on this lap. Peerberg just struggling to get the car hooked up into Brooklands. Means the McLaren is closing up onto his tail. They've got 10.5 seconds over Pier Giuseppe Perezzini, but there is a risk that that is going to evaporate because Perezzini currently lapping 2 seconds lap quicker than Valentin Peerberg. So what it means is that Sean Balfe is somewhat time boxed here. He's got about 5 laps to find his way past Peerberg before they get joined by the Ferrari. That is another of the cars that's right up there in the Pro-Am Championship fight. So through Beckett's and then on to Chapel Curve, down the Hangar Straight. So in terms of the Pro-Am Championship, Giotto and Perezzini are on 40 points, with Bell and Balfe, or rather Giotto and Perezzini on 40, Bell and Balfe on 42, and then Peerberg is on 30. So this would be a very handy points haul for Sean Balfe if he were able to pick his way past Valentin Peerberg. It's through this middle section of the lap where he's got the best opportunity as Peerberg runs a little bit wide through Vale into Club. He might be a little bit slower through the apex of Club. This could open up the opportunity for the McLaren as Balfe looks to close up behind the Mercedes as the pair of them sprint out of Club on towards Abbey. Great wheel-to-wheel dicing as they swing out of Abbey and into Farm again. Peerberg just using all the road a little bit more. Brakes early to the inside line at Village. Balfe looking every which way, looks the outside at the loop. That might give him the cut back as they come into entry onto the Wellington Straight. He can't quite do it. The Mercedes quick in the straight line. The McLaren nimble and agile. Smile from Tom Onslow Cole. Looking anxious, he wants to see this picture, and here it comes as Sean Balfe looks to the inside of Valentin Peerberg, and Balfe's going to go through, takes the lead of the class, takes 4th place in the race overall. Lovely move from Sean Balfe, well plotted. Not an awful lot that Valentin Peerberg could do about that. And so Balfe sets off in pursuit of Raffaele Giammaria. And now for Valentin Peerberg, there is a question mark about how long it's going to take for Pier Giuseppe Perezzini to possibly reel him in. Still 15 minutes of racing. So still every possibility that something is going to change. Now, the other class battle that has really come together is the Manuel da Costa in the GTOpen class has got Martin Conrad in the MS Racing Mercedes just 1.5 seconds behind him. So suddenly it's all change. Throughout the field, we've got a pit lane speeding penalty for Nono Figueiredo, who was 3rd in the GTOpen class. So that is going to promote Davide Rizzo in the Kaspersky Ferrari up to 3rd in the class. It's ready, Balfe easing away from Peerberg. Works the wheel at the McLaren. Comes out of Club. Now here is Raffaele Giammaria, 3rd place in the race overall. 36 seconds off the race leader, Philip Fromavila. With a chance to look again at that move from Sean Balfe. Ever closer because Pier Giuseppe Perezzini's got Ryan Ratcliffe with him, then Dominic Farnbacker, and they've been joined by Fran Rueda. We've got Antonio Felix da Costa and Michael Meadows not too far back either. Now, Pier Giuseppe Perezzini's team manager has just been summoned to race control for reasons we know not. That might put a different complexion on it as well. Perezzini currently third in the Pro-Am class, but this, as things stand, will lose the class lead as a result to Bell and Balfe. In terms of the championship, as things stand, as they are, Giovanni Venturini is going to move into the lead of the overall championship by dint of retaining Ratcliffe. Charge down the hanger straight. The driver here who's looking the 0.4 seconds, losing on this group of some 1.5 seconds. And also, they are catching Valentin Peterberg at a rate of 2 seconds a lap too. So suddenly, this fight, which is currently for 6th through to 9th, could well be from 5th through to 10th. If not a little bit more, because Michael Mendes is also right with Antonio Felix da Costa. Wonderful shot of the cars, so late and deep on the brakes as they concertina up on each other, under braking into Village. Or a little bit of a tap there from Fran Rueda on Dominic Farnbacker. I just wonder if Farnbacker is beginning to struggle for handling a little bit with that missing front spoiler. Oh, Ratcliffe being very assertive in his use of the headlights. Without a great deal of success in terms of overhauling Giuseppe Perezzini. So Valentin Peterberg has just come past us with a lap that's just shy of a 2:05, 2 minutes 4.8, relative to a 2 minutes 3.6 from Perezzini. So Perezzini now is just 7.5 seconds back from Valentin Peterberg. Antonio Felix da Costa is just 2.3 seconds back from all this group too. And at the front of the field, Giovanni Venturini is continuing to take a second a lap out of Philip Fromenvila. So the gap from first to second is down to 7.5 seconds. A rate of capture that, by my reckoning, I think is still going to just about give Fromenvila enough of a buffer by the time we get to the flag. But this wonderful, wonderful scrap behind. Raider feel if he can get the Teo Martin Motorsport BMW through, and there is team principal Teo Martin, he might be able to drive away from this group. But Perezzini, just making life difficult for those around him, sticks to the racing line. No way through for Ryan Ratcliffe, and if Ratcliffe can't get past, there's no way through for Dominic Farnbacker. Again, Ryan Ratcliffe kindly reminding Giuseppe Perezzini that when it's dark, you need to use your headlights. Perezzini, does he leave a gap to the inside of the Village? Yes, here it comes, and Ratcliffe goes for it. Oh, he puts two wheels up on the curve. Perezzini pushed wide, and he's going to have to concede here to Ryan Ratcliffe, or is he? Giuseppe Perezzini looks to fight back, pushes the Mercedes out wide. As a result, Dominic Farnbacker comes into the mix, and it's the Lexus that's the big winner. He passes the Mercedes. He might get even more as they come down the Wellington Straight towards Brooklands. This was always going to kick into a little bit of a sort out, and here it is. Perezzini somehow retains 6th position. 7th now to Dominic Farnbacker, 8th to Ryan Ratcliffe. Fran Raider in 9th, but he is being joined by Antonio Felix da Costa and Michael Meadows as they flash through. Complete the 29th lap of the race. Another look at it. So Ratcliffe so late on the brakes. Perezzini saw him, gave him racing room, which is just as well, really. But then, as a result, Ratcliffe couldn't turn in to the loop because Perezzini was there. And Dominic Farnbacker saw a hole, thought that looks about big enough for a Lexus. I'll have it, thank you very much. And snuck past. So now down the hanger straight, here they come, all 5 of them, because both of the BMWs And now in this fight, as Perezzini looks one way, then look at him. Lovely shot there. You can see Perezzini moving his head around in the cockpit, looking at every mirror available to try and track where the Lexus of Dominic Farnbacher was, as Farnbacher kicks it sideways through Stowe. So much torque in the Lexus as they draw side by side into Vale, and Farnbacher goes through. He makes the move into 6th, or does he? He runs wide, gathers it up into club, and finally Pier Giuseppe Perezzini's grip on that 6th place would appear to have been relinquished as Dominic Farnbacher goes into 6th position. Hugely entertaining scrap, and now we're as we were a lap ago, which is Ryan Radcliffe trying to overhaul Pier Giuseppe Perezzini. Radcliffe knows what worked last time, knows what didn't, and therefore doesn't launch the inside. Instead, Perezzini outbrakes himself, almost anticipating the defence of the Mercedes. The Mercedes pushed out wide. Antonio Fix da Costa moves ahead of his teammates. Now it's da Costa who's going to take his turn on Radcliffe and Perezzini. Michael Meadows looking to join in as well, and that's important because Meadows is fighting with Perezzini for Pro-Am class honours. Through Brooklands, Farnbacher is gone. So our race order with 7.5 minutes to go is Philip from Avila leads, 2nd place Giovanni Venturini, 3rd Raffaele Giammaria, 4th leading the Pro-Am class Sean Palf, 5th is Valentin Pierberg, 6th is Dominic Farnbacher, 7th Pier Giuseppe Perezzini, 8th just about everybody else, 8th Radcliffe, 9th Antonio Fix da Costa, 10th Fran Rueda, 11th Michael Meadows, from 12th Mauro Calamia, 13th Ricky Christodoulou, and Kang Ling in 14th. Now Pier Giuseppe Perezzini has been given a 3-second time penalty for pit handicap that appeared to be a little bit too short. So you'll get confirmation of it there now on your screen, and that is crucial because it means that Perezzini is going to lose that 3rd place in the Pro-Am class to Michael Meadows, provided things stay as they are. So that's going to cost him another point in the Pro-Am championship battle, as Radcliffe looks to the inside of Perezzini and goes through. So the game is up there. Perezzini has to concede. So that promotes Jordan Witter, Michael Meadows on adjusted time to 3rd in the Pro-Am class, I think. Though Perezzini is safe for any further deductions. He's good 20 seconds or so clear of that. And now Perezzini, the spirit has gone a little bit. He loses out to Antonio Fix da Costa, Fran Rueda, and Michael Meadows next in the queue. And Meadows looks to the outside of Fran Rueda and gets boxed in behind Perezzini. Michael Meadows still trying to assert his way past, and does. Great move from Michael Meadows and Fran Rueda. And Rueda in the BMW had to give it to him. Really, look at that. Nothing between them. Bumper to bumper racing as they come out of Aintree down the Wellington Straight once more. So the Bentley up into 10th position in the race altogether. Another look here further back. It's Kang Ling still battling with the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini. Also, Alan Cadet looking to join in as well. A little bit of rubbing. So we're heading towards the closing stages here of the 9th race, the International GTOpen season at Silverstone. Here is our race leader, Philip from Avila, who, after having been chased down by Giovanni Venturini, is now beginning to re-extend his advantage at the front of the field. It's gone back out to some 8.5 seconds, so it's looking as if it's going to be a 3rd victory of the season for Albert Costa and Philip from Avila, but with Giovanni Venturini on course finishing 2nd place, it means that he's only going to close 3 points up on Venturini. With Thomas Biaggi looking set for 3rd. He's only going to take 5 points out of Biaggi. But it's Miguel Ramos and Mikel Mack of the championship contenders who are the big losers today. They're currently down in 18th position. And Mikel Mack having a good scrap with Vitantonio Liuzzi and Com Ledegaard. Quite for race victory for Giovanni Venturini. This would be why he's lost some ground. He's caught up behind a battle between Davide Rizzo and Nono Figueiredo, which is for third in the GTOpen class. Raffaele Gianmaria, third in the race overall, some 35 seconds off the lead of the race. But again, doing the job in terms of the championship push. It's going to be another podium finish for Thomas Biaggi. And Gianmaria, who, pretty much wherever car you put him in, can always be relied upon to be pretty much right on the pace. Proves to be the case once more. So down the hanger straight. And then the wait for Sean Bow to emerge into view. Here is Sean, leader of the Pro-Am class, en route to 4th place in the race overall as well. So that's more very handy points for he and Rob Bell. It's their best results at Estoril at the start of the year. Now, Antonio Felix da Costa is right with Ryan Radcliffe. This is the fight for 7th and 8th as Radcliffe and da Costa out to the edge of the road as they come down the hanger straight. And Ryan Radcliffe, he picked up a warning flag last lap as da Costa, he squeezes Radcliffe and goes around the outside. Oh, that's lovely from Antonio Felix da Costa. Brilliant move in the Teo Marti Motorsport BMW. And that was assertive racing. And da Costa goes through, gains the position. And behind, Michael Meadows trying to do much the same to Pier Giuseppe Perezzini. They're about to be joined as well by Mauro Calamia. And the other position that might well change here is that Dominic Farnbacher is very rapidly reeling in Valentin Pierberg. And again, you don't know where to look. There is fantastic wheel-to-wheel racing all the way through the field. The indicator on from Michael Meadows. Closing up to Pier Giuseppe Perezzini. Still the frustrated Fran Rueda just behind him, because again, in terms of championship consideration for Fran Rueda here, there is the frustration of having been shuffled. Although you might well just squeeze a point with the time penalty for Pier Giuseppe Perezzini. Essentially, that passing move from Michael Meadows has cost him a couple of points in the championship race, and it means that he is he and Victor Bouveng will be leapfrogged, at least at the end of this race, by Albert Costa and Philip Fromenvilla in the championship battle, because we've got just a minute left on the clock. So they start their penultimate lap of the race, because, in my reckoning, Philip Fromenvilla is going to cross the line with just a couple of seconds left before the clock ticks to 0. Through Beckett, and then on towards the hanger straight from this thunderous chain of cars. As here is Philip Fromenvilla, race leader, 27 seconds on the clock. Couldn't quite afford to back out of the throttle to let the clock tick to 0, and he's going to come through, start the last lap of the race. She does now. His lead over Giovanni Venturini continuing to grow. So that's partly because Venturini is not attempting to fight his way past the Rizzo and Figueiredo battle. Big grin from Albert Costa. An even bigger one in about 3 miles' time when the Lexus comes back into view. Down the hanger straight, and this has been very much the perfect day for the Emil Frey Racing Lexus team. They got pole position this morning with Albert Costa. Costa also has got fastest lap of the race, to his credit, that he set very early on. Was able to give Fromenvilla the lead to inherit post pit stops. And thereafter, Giovanni Venturini was doing a reasonable job of chasing the gap down until he got caught in this battle for third in the GTOpen class. And thereafter, Venturini, for fairly obvious reasons, not trying to force his way past this group of cars, risked getting into an incident and it all going wrong. We might have a shuffle on this last lap, because Valentin Pierberg has been caught by Dominic Farnbacher, so the fight for 5th and 6th has come together. That may well change. As Fromavila just balances the throttle, applies the right foot as early as he dares with the Emil Frey Racing Lexus. Albert Costa and the team watching for every movement of the car on this last lap, but now there's just 2 corners to go through the challenge at Brooklands. As long as Fromavila doesn't have a moment at Luffield, then this is going to be a 3rd victory of the season for the Emil Frey Racing Lexus team. It's been a perfect day for the squad, and victory at Silverstone in the International GTOpen goes to Philip Fromavila and Albert Costa. The team celebrate on the pit wall the 3rd victory of the season. A really impressive drive all around. Celebrations on the pit wall as a result. Giovanni Venturini across the line in 2nd place. So he takes the lead in the championship. And then 3rd is going to go the way of Raffaele Gianmaria and Thomas Biaggi. And it means the Imperiale Racing team, 2 cars onto the podium. And therefore every reason to enjoy handshakes on the pit wall. And here's Sean Balfe. He's going to take 4th in the race overall, but victory, and therefore, for my money, the championship lead in the Pro-Am Championship as Balfe accelerates through Woodcote. The flag goes out and Balfe takes the win. The team takes the win in the class, 4th overall. The team celebrate. And Dominic Farnbacker on this last lap has indeed moved clear of Valentin Pierberg. So Dominic and Mario Farnbacker take 5th place, 6th and runner-up in the Pro-Am class, Valentin Pierberg and Tom Onslow-Cole. 7th to Antonio Felix da Costa. And then with adjusted time, 8th Ryan Radcliffe and Phil Keane. 9th to Fran Rueda and Victor Bouveng. And thereafter, we'll calculate. But none of that any concern for Costa and Fromavila. It has been an imperious performance, in perfect control of the day. The smart money coming into the morning was that this was a track that was going to suit the Lexus. It has proved that that is exactly the case. So look at the final classification then. Costa and Fromavila take the victory from Venturini and Mapelli, with Biaggi and Gianmaria completing the podium. Sean Balfe and Rob Bell win the Pro-Am class ahead of Dominic and Mario Farnbacker, who were 5th overall. 2nd Pro-Am car, Pierberg and Onslow-Cole ahead of Lorenzo Berard Viega and Antonio Felix da Costa. Ryan Radcliffe and Phil Keane, a great drive to 8th ahead of Fran Roeder and Victor Bouveng, a solid 9th. Jordan Witt and Michael Meadows just sneaking 3rd in the Pro-Am class after that 3-second time penalty for Pier Giuseppe Perezzini and Marco Giocci. Craig Dolby and Ricky Cristulu down in 13th, ahead of Vito Postiglione and Andrea Fontana. Miguel Ramos and Mikel Mack tying top of the points coming in today, but in 18th and well adrift, with Manuel da Costa and Miguel Sardinia winning the GTOpen class from Aquina and Conrad, and then Moisev and Rizzo. Drivers' Championship then, Venturini leads the way, 2 points clear of Thomas Biaggi, with Fromavila and Costa climbing to 3rd, ahead of Rueda and Bouveng, but we've got 12 points covering the top 5 cars in the championship. So Albert Costa opens the door for his teammate. The team are ready to celebrate. They have done a fantastic job here at Silverstone. Smiles all around for the team. Smiles too for the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini squad. Maybe frustration for Giovanni Venturini and Marco Mapelli, but for that traffic they may just have reeled in the Lexus in the latter stage of the race. It proved not to be the case, and in the event it was a comfortable victory for Fromavila and Costa. Imperiale Racing though, 2 cars in the top 3 in the race. Their expansion of the squad to 3 cars for the weekend, immediately paying dividends. Onslow Cole and Valentin Pierberg debriefing their race. That was looked like it was a fairly difficult stint for Valentin Pierberg. Just couldn't quite get the car working to his liking. And that, as a result, allowed Sean Balfe and Rob Bell to claim Pro-Am victory, with Manuel da Costa and Miguel Sardinia in the GTOpen class holding off a late challenge from Martin Conrad and Alexander Faquina.
Albert Costa, Philippe Fromenville, very nice win here at Silverstone, the third of the year, and it was a perfect start, perfect qualifying, perfect first stint.
Yeah, the qualifying was perfect. We did a really good job. Also only using one set of tires, so we saved one for the race. And yeah, in the race, everything was getting well. I feel the tires were a bit cold. I think we make a small mistake with pressures. And yeah, at the end, I blocked the tires at the middle of my stint, and I had a huge problem in the front tires. This is why Mapelli was catching me on the braking, and yeah, I lost a bit. I was expecting for a better rhythm, to be honest, because yesterday I was quite strong. But at the end, the car was answering pretty well, and then Philippe made a really good job to keep the pressure on. And yeah, now it's time for him on the qualifying tomorrow. Let's keep on the same way, and I really hope to finish at least top 5 for tomorrow, and it's a great win, so we are back.
Good. Philippe, second stint was a matter of keeping everything under control, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Albert did an amazing stint, and we knew the second position car had a penalty from the last race, I think, and so I just managed to save tires and stay on track, and that was my job. And yeah, thanks to the team, thanks to Albert, it was really, really good today.
Well done, guys, and you are back close to the top of the series. Well done.
Albert Costa led away from pole position at the start of the 9th race of the GTOpen season, though Marco Mapelli pushed him all the way into Cops the first time, with Onslow Cole slotting through into 3rd position. First lap with 24 cars all jostling for ground was always going to be frantic, but fortunately they all made it through cleanly. It got very tight between Marcello Hard, Yoshi Hamaguchi and Alex Moisev, who eventually was rotated. Meanwhile, Mario Farnbacher was pushing hard early on alongside Francesco Cini. Hamaguchi and West then did battle a little bit lower down the order, as at the front of the field, Albert Costa was running in tandem with Marco Mapelli. Post pit stops, Valentin Pierberg was quickly gobbled up by Raffaele Gianmaria, who had taken over from Thomas Biaggi. As at the front of the field, Philippe Fromenville led the way from Giovanni Venturini. Sean Balfe made this move on Valentin Pierberg to snatch 4th place and the Pro-Am class win, whereas behind we were treated to an absolutely magnificent scrap as Pier Giuseppe Perezzini, Dominic Farnbacher and Ryan Ratcliffe went wheel to wheel, lap after lap. Eventually it was Antonio Fitz da Costa who was one of the drivers who was able to scythe through en route to an excellent 7th place overall. It was the 3rd victory of the season for Philippe Fromenville and Albert Costa in the ML Frey Racing Lexus, and helping their championship charge no end ahead of championship leader Giovanni Venturini alongside Marco Mapelli, with then Raffaele Gianmaria and Thomas Biaggi completing the outright race podium, with Sean Balfe and Rob Bell running the Pro-Am class, Manuel da Costa, Miguel Sardinia the GTOpen class. So the podium ready for 3 very happy driver combinations. 3rd place to Raffaele Gianmaria and Thomas Biaggi. Giovanni Venturini and Marco Mapelli to the 2nd step of the podium, with Philippe Fromenville and Albert Costa winning for the first time in the championship since Spa in May. Their 3rd win of the season, The third triumph of the year for Emil Frey Racing.
And now, the national anthem for the winning team. Well done to our winners, Albert Costa.
The Swiss national anthem then in honour of Emil Frey Racing. Albert Costa, Philip Fronvilla to the top step of the Silverstone podium. It's on to the presentation of the trophies. Third place to Raffaele Gianmaria and Thomas Biaggi. Runners up, Giovanni Venturini and Marco Mappelli. Race winners, Philip Fronvilla and Albert Costa. The winning team, Emil Frey Racing. So the presentation of the trophies complete. Time to pose for the photos and then make merry with the bubbly. All very crowded on the podium. As the drivers celebrate, of course, the weekend only half over. They'll be qualifying 9:40 tomorrow morning, racing again just after 1 o'clock local time tomorrow. So do make sure you join us at Silverstone for that, the 10th race of the GTOpen season. But before we say goodbye from Silverstone, we will turn our attention to the top three combinations in the Pro-Am class. Again, was a very, very closely contested class today, with third place going to Jordan Witt and Michael Meadows in the Jordan Racing Bentley. Runners up, Tom Onslow Cole and Valentin Pierberg in the SPS Automotive Mercedes. And our class winners, delighted Sean Balfe and into the race. Very, very enjoyable race again today. So much dicing all the way through the field. And a lot to celebrate. Third place to Jordan Witt and Michael Meadows. Car involved in scraps throughout the course of the race. Class runners up, Valentin Pierberg and Tom Onslow Cole. And class winners, to huge applause, Sean Balfe and Rob Bell. The top step of the podium. On with the presentation of the trophies. And that result, enough provisionally to move Bell and Balfe to the top of the Pro-Am Championship. Two very happy drivers who worked hard for that one this afternoon. On the Silverstone today. We will be back just after 1 o'clock British time tomorrow. So make sure you join us here at Silverstone for the 10th race of the International GTOpen season. Until then, from Ben Evans, it's goodbye.
Now,
Now we'll turn our attention to the GTAM podium and some excellent dicing in the GTAM class with in third place Davide Rizzo and Alex Moisev, having held off Nono Figueiredo late on for Davide Rizzo. Runners up in the class, Martin Conrad and Alexander Fraquina, with Miguel Sardinia and Manuel da Costa claiming the class victory for the Sport and New Mercedes team. So Moisev and Rizzo to the third step of the podium. Runners up, Fraquina and Conrad. Manuel da Costa, Miguel Sardinia celebrating Sport and New Mercedes. GTAM honours, top of the Silverstone podium. So the Kaspersky Ferrari finishing in third position. MS Racing, Mercedes, Fraquina and Conrad. Runners up. Costa, Sardinia celebrating. Victory in the GTAM class for Sport and New Mercedes. They will be back for more class battles tomorrow, as will we, here at Silverstone as the International GT Open season continues.
Ladies. Break.